Nowadays, almost everyone broadcasts podcasts and can earn money through these broadcasts. So what is a podcast? Podcast is the broadcast of digital media products, radio programs, videos, that can be downloaded to computers and portable devices, mobile phones, tablets, over the internet. Demand for audio-only content is increasing day by day. Moreover, the most popular way to use such content is podcasts. As you can see, podcast publishing has been busy the markets for a long time. We can only say that in recent days it is more popular than ever. This means we are at the right time to start your own podcast broadcast, build a solid audience and earn money through this business. The knowledge economy based on making money over information, the return of the latest technology is growing day by day with a number of methods. However, at least for now, podcasts seem to have a number of advantages far superior to what the videos promise. How does? For example, people cannot watch videos while driving, in gyms, or while exercising outdoors. Otherwise, they can neither drive nor do sports, do they? They want to take a dose of their favorite podcasts in order to use time more efficiently in such precise moments. Or some of us prefer to consume content in audio format rather than text or video. The existence of realistic tools or methods that this people will use to earn income from the shining podcast industry is still not exposed. For this reason, in this article, we will talk about a few functional methods that those who are considering making their own podcasts can benefit from. If your goal is to both share your passions and earn extra money, you can make your podcast journey by following the steps below. Who knows, maybe you can even turn the podcast job into a full-time job. 1. Determine your podcast subject. There are 2 points to consider when determining your podcast topic. Would you appeal to a massive mass market audience or would you prefer to work with a narrow niche audience? Why do you think that profitable niche markets like dog training or on-site sales are the perfect place for podcast broadcasts? The answer is simple: because they work. Having a tangible and functional niche makes it easier for you to reach the target audience and ideal sponsors and advertisers with which you will earn income. In addition, the solid position you will acquire in the market and the low level of competitive environment are among the advantages promised by these niches. Another advantage of choosing a niche market for your podcast broadcast is that they allow you to stick to a particular perspective. Because people prefer to listen to podcasts that have a certain point of view, that is, posture. For example, if your niche market is style for women over the age of 40, you should show an anti-aging culture perspective in your publications and talk about age-related issues as a style. Want to start a new online business, open a YouTube channel or create a blog page? We recommend those who dream of this to target niche markets as a priority. The same is true for podcasts. If you create a niche market-based podcast broadcast, you can expand the broadcast coverage to reach a wider audience at any time. However, when you address a specific niche market, it will be as easy to create your target audience and follow this audience closely, as well as to start broadcasting podcasts. In this sense, we can compare niche-based podcasts to large fish swimming in a small pool. Policy or weight loss etc. In the podcast broadcasts related to the mass market on the subjects, the market competition is much higher, but the markets in question are so large that it is inevitable that you are somehow involved as long as you are interesting and keep your difference. You should also keep in mind that you can start by targeting a much smaller portion of a larger niche market to gain your market share and build a solid audience. As you expand your podcast audience, you will also be able to address a wide range of topics related to larger markets. Do not feel out of sight because you started the business through a small niche market. Do not think that you are only dependent on the market in question. There is no stuck. You just have to wait for the right time. In fact, we don't even have to say that. The better your podcasts, the more listeners or followers you'll gain. Even if you start with a minimal audience, as most podcast publishers do, you need to blend this process with quality content, topic-compatible topic choices, and a consistent stream. Advertisers or sponsors essentially chase 2 things: an engaging product and a massive, passionate audience. During this time you are trying to build your followers, you should also focus on improving your guest hosting, meeting and presentation skills. Speaking of the skill, let's list a set of skills that those who want to master podcasts must acquire: sound cleaning and production, community building and interaction using word-of-mouth marketing on social media, developing podcast-compatible applications, creating action calls, editing register a domain, voice ability. The good news is that it's not hard to create a professional podcast thanks to all the tools available today, technology. Moreover, it is not very costly. You can cost many of these technological tools much cheaper by outsourcing method. You can hire a specialist to set up the podcast system and match it with iTunes, contract with a designer to create great-looking artworks for your podcast cover, even get help from a musician to create your podcast generic music, and even recruit staff to create podcast content. We do not want you to feel crushed under the burden of all these works. Remember, you're just up the road. For this reason, you should proceed slowly and surely and focus on increasing your quality in every aspect during the process you continue to create podcasts. The establishment and investment process are the most difficult parts of getting into the podcast business. However, after making a few podcasts, you will get the job and have a seated system where you can easily handle everything. Unlike high-level events such as podcasts, the Olympics and the World Cup, they are not always measured by the size of the numbers. Let's say you can say that the number of listeners spending XTL per month on dog food is 250 per week for companies seeking advertising. Such an offer is much more valuable than the sales offer to be presented to approximately 15,000 unidentified and non-interactive readers browsing a news site. When it comes to the online environment, the only thing that matters to advertisers and sponsors is to reach a much more specific, targeted and demographic customer group rather than addressing a large audience. This is why we suggested that you target a smaller niche market for your podcast in the previous episodes, because the power of having a niche market cannot be denied. Let us warn you when it comes. Advertisers or sponsors are after passionate followers specific to a particular demographic structure. If your podcast broadcasts include a wide network of topics or do not appeal to a specific audience, you may have trouble finding sponsors. Even if you have just started the podcast business, you can earn a significant amount of money through this business. How does? Do you already have our own products or services? Then you can talk about these products in your podcast as the first job. If you do not have your own products or services, you can be the sales partner of other products or services and you can introduce them and request a commission for this. When your podcast grows and you have a large enough audience, you can earn a significant amount of income through sponsorships or certain product promotions. As you can see, the ways to make money on podcasts are unlimited. Although these three methods we mentioned above are the most widely used among them, the main thing that determines the limits of making money on podcasts is your imagination and creativity. There have been so many talented people who have only used podcasts for their commercial activities for a short time, but realized that this method is not very useful for their own business. Moreover, most of them are not even aware that they have developed a series of essential skills that are in high demand throughout the process. What is that? Did you go through the same ways? Then you are part of an advantageous group that devotes the time and energy required to become a podcast expert. Unfortunately, 99% of people are not as skilled as you are, so they need your expertise. Of course, you can prove your personality to them. Podcast publishing is generally directly proportional to other online activities such as social media marketing, web traffic measurement, and search engine optimization, and is mainly related to technology. We can even say that it is one of the most useful types of interactive media.